In today's video, I'm going to be talking about shows that I have watched with my husband that we both really enjoyed as a couple. Make sure you stick around to the end to find out the best TV show I've seen in a really long time. The first show is The Lazarus Project, and you can watch it on Stan here in Australia. It's a pretty good sci-fi show about an organization that can turn back time to the previous June 1st in order to stop the world ending. It's like a spy, secret agent sort of thing. But it's also about being caught in a time loop and how many times can you relive the same year while staying sane and getting things right for everyone. The second show I want to talk about is McMillians. It's on Binge here in Australia, and it's a hilarious documentary series about the McDonald's Monopoly promotion scam that happened. The reenactments are really, really good, but the main star is this FBI agent who is like super keen on being undercover and like getting his hands dirty in this like sting operation, I guess you could call it. He's really, really funny, and yeah, he just makes the series so good. The next show is a comedy special, Burr, live at Red Rocks, and that's available on Netflix. I don't typically like Burr that much, but we watched this the other day and I actually really enjoyed it. I feel like Burr has a much more balanced and educated worldview, so enjoy that one. The next show I want to talk about is Wheel of Time, and that's on Prime Video. I love a bit of magic. This is a fantasy show and it follows a kind of witch. She's a member of this organization called the Aes Sedai, and she's looking for this prophesied being who is supposed to either end the world or save the world. She finds these 4 friends and she can't decide which one of them is the one, you know, the prophesied being. So she takes all of them to the like center of her organization to get help to decide which one might be the powerful one. It's very epic, very battle, very romance, and very, very good. The next show I want to talk about is Devs, which is on Disney+. I'm not sure how many people have really heard of or seen this show, but it's set in a kind of Google campus, if you will, and it's focusing on the research and development department, which is why it's called Devs, development for short. It's an extremely secretive group and very, very difficult to get into. But there's a young software engineer and she is determined to get in there and sort of uncover its secrets. She does find something very mysterious and strange going on at the core of Devs, and I don't want to spoil too much, but suffice to say it is a very twisty and turny, like mind-bending kind of show. It's a little bit slow and a little bit confusing at times because of it, but that's what makes the reveals at the end so good. And it also has a spectacular soundtrack and just looks visually stunning, so highly recommend Devs. The next show I want to talk about is See on Apple TV+. We both really loved this show. It's set in a post-apocalyptic world where everybody is blind. 300 years after the initial like breakdown of civilization, there are people who have sight starting to be born, or I guess grow up in this world. But ultimately this series is about a family that's trying to stay together when they have sighted children. It's quite a violent and gory show, but if you don't mind that, it has beautiful choreography. Like these fight scenes are unlike anything I've ever seen. I can't even describe it, but just imagine how would a blind person or blind army fight another blind army? What would their body language be? You know, how would they create advantages for themselves and that sort of thing. So the choreography in this show is spectacular, and the ingenuity of the characters in the ways in which they defend themselves and all that sort of stuff is just amazing. So yeah, it's definitely worth a watch just for that alone. But you know, on top of that, the core of the story is about family, and it's about, you know, a changing world, changing society, trust and communication. The way Jason Momoa moves his body in this show is just unreal. Like he is the embodiment of this character. If ever I saw one, it's just crazy. See on Apple TV+ has the perfect blend of action and drama. The next show is Mythic Quest on Apple TV+ as well. This show is amazing. I don't know how it's flown under the radar, but it's such a good sitcom. It's set in a game development office, and it's kind of following creative director who is like this egotistical, flashy kind of guy, and the lead software developer who is this quiet woman, and kind of how they butt heads when developing or trying to develop a new game. One of the things I loved about this show is how it references the real world, and I think during filming it must have been the pandemic / lockdowns. So there's one episode called Quarantine and it made me cry. Like it is so good. Like for a comedy show to have this much heart and this much like drama is not easy to find. So I would definitely recommend checking out Mythic Quest. The next show is Succession on Binge. Obviously, this is a hugely popular show and you've probably already seen it by now. But if you haven't, if you're put off by the fact that it's about like the business world, don't be, because it's really about this narcissistic old man, Logan Roy. He is the patriarch of the family, and his 4 kids who are like scrabbling, you know, to try and get his favor so that they can have power, they can have money, they can have influence and that sort of thing. And it's a satire. So these people act in just the most crazy ways and do the most crazy things. It's the epitome of like the privilege of the 1%, or even the 0.1% in this case. Definitely worth a watch. My husband and I have never discussed character motives as much as we have while we've been watching Succession. Just each character is so complex and has their own reasons for doing things the way they do, and it's just really interesting and fun to watch. The second to last show I want to talk about is Station 11. In Australia, it's available on Stan. I am a little bit biased because I have read the book, but it's an amazing show set in a post-apocalyptic world where a global pandemic has basically wiped out the whole population. And interestingly, this was written, I mean, the book came out years before COVID, and the show was being filmed prior to COVID, so it's kind of eerily prescient maybe. It's about how people are surviving 20 years after the initial collapse, and what's great about this show is that it's not about violence, although there are some violent scenes in it. It's more about how people come together and form communities and look after each other and create art and have hope in what could be quite a grim landscape. It is a little bit slow in parts, but the emotional payoff is well worth it at the end, so I definitely recommend this show. The last and best show that I want to talk about is Severance on Apple TV+. Again, you may have heard of this show, might not have watched it because it's about working in an office, but again, don't let that put you off. It is one of the best shows I've seen in a really long time. It's so good. It's excellent. It's about what it means to work for 8 hours a day and the relationships you form with your colleagues and the sorts of things that you are privy to and the things that you don't know about that are going on kind of in the organization as a whole. It's kind of about your changing personality and who are you while you're at work, who are you while you're at home, and how do those two worlds influence each other. It sounds a little bit weird and maybe it sounds a little bit dull, but you just have to trust me on this one. If you haven't seen Severance, start it immediately. I can't rave about it enough. The cinematography is stunning. The set design, just impeccable. Costumes, everything is absolutely gorgeous in this show. And the acting as well just takes it up a notch. Like, it is just such a great show and perfect to watch with your partner. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy these shows. If you haven't seen them already, do leave a comment below telling me what you think of these shows if you have seen them and whether they're good to watch with a partner. I'll see you next time.